Episode 44 of the podcast. This week we're talking about recognizing habits, our own habits and the habits that the dogs have. And then in the second part, we're going to be talking about tracking progress. You're listening to the Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast. I'm Chrissy Neumeier Smith. I'm a certified professional groomer, certified behavior consultant for canines, certified professional dog trainer, and the owner of Happy Critters in Nashua, New Hampshire. And this, my friends and colleagues, is where grooming and training meet. I want to talk about habits today. We have them, our dogs have them, and they can be really hard to identify. Sometimes you have no idea that you have a habit. I'm going to start off with a human example that has nothing to do with grooming. So for a while, we always had the milk on the door of the fridge. Then my husband read someplace that it was better for the milk to be on a shelf. This is not something I really even care about. Never mind something that involves my safety or my security or hostility, right? This is just something I really don't care about. But every time I opened the fridge, I reached for the door before I reached for the shelf. I had a habit that I was entirely unaware of. I had no idea I had a habit until it got changed on me. So I want you to think about how many things are on autopilot for us and for our dogs. There are things that we don't think about. And when they're on autopilot, when they just happen without much thought, that's a habit. And those habits can be good, and those habits can be things that we need to change. So, in the case of the milk in the fridge, uh, I definitely took about a week before I started reaching for the door. How ridiculous is that? A week. This is something I don't even care about. I didn't know I had a habit, but I instinctively just reached for the door. It might be because it's before coffee. That's when you need the milk, right? Before you drink the coffee. So I had no idea I had a habit. I'd reach for the door, wasn't on the door, reached for the shelf. When I went to put it away, there was no room on the door to put it away, put it back on the shelf. So along with changing that habit, we also changed our access to room on the shelf, on the door, rather. Like we had to change where things go. If there were room on the door, the milk would go back to its old place because I have a habit and I was searching for that spot. So when we're trying to replace a habit, we need to set ourselves up for success. We need to help change something in our environment to make that easier for us. Now, animals have habits too, and those habits can be tricky. For some dogs, that's the greeting habit. Let's say, you get to the door and you're coming in. I can tell you what my dogs like to do. One of my dogs is right there at the door doing the happy silly dance, and the other one is further back and waiting to go out the back door. Like he's waiting at the sliding glass door, excitedly waiting for me to go to help him out, to go out and play. They aren't really thinking about what they're doing. Those are habits. They happen consistently, pretty much all the time. If I ask for something different, they really have to think hard. Like if I ask for a sit, they're like, oh, yeah, I think we can do that even during greeting. But this is an autopilot behavior. This is something that they do all on their own because it's just a habit. It's a good habit. I like the way I get greeted by my dogs, so I think that that is simply fine. No need to change it. Sometimes our habits are good. I feel that I have a good habit when I'm brushing. When I'm brushing a dog, I'm very, very gentle. Do you have a good habit while you're brushing? Are you really gentle? And gentle with the dog as well as with the tool. Are you gentle while you're holding that area? Be thinking about some of the habits we have, things that we don't notice that we do. Another example that has nothing to do with grooming. If you listen to my podcast, you are probably very aware that I have a habit of saying and so. You don't realize that you have a habit like that until you record yourself. It's a hard habit to break. It's a really hard habit to break. And I actually don't do a whole lot of editing. I feel that it's important for us to be feeling like we're sitting down talking to each other, like we're just having a conversation. And I like that. And it's okay if I'm flawed. Hopefully, you guys know I'm flawed and you think I'm okay anyway. So, some habits aren't a big deal, but I wasn't aware I said it all that often. I had no idea. So now I'm trying to fix it. Now I'm trying to make myself better at a pause. Oh. Oh my God, was that silence? I didn't have to fill it with an or a so. Are you sure? Really? Yeah. And I don't need to fill that. That's part of what makes and so such a habit. So this has actually helped me when I'm talking to people directly. I do it a lot less often. If you don't know that you have a habit, you can't really change it. Other types of habits, things in the grooming room, might be where you place your scissors. I'm a house call groomer, so my grooming setup is always a little bit different, but I got out of the habit of placing my scissors on my grooming table. Not 100%. There are still times where I'm like thinking I'm just going to lift this dog up a little bit. I'll put the scissors down for a second and readjust his weight and hold him up a little bit and pick the scissors up again. But in general, I set up a little area either on the counter or on the table next to my grooming equipment. That's my scissor zone. This is a habit that I have built so that my scissors don't hit the floor. Habits can be really good habits. Habits can be helpful. If you are not used to doing something in a different way, it might feel like it takes longer. And part of what's happening is that a habit is effortless. You're no longer putting effort into thinking about it, right? Do you put much effort into thinking about starting your car up in the morning? Not usually. Not usually. Usually if you go out to your car, you are probably just on autopilot. You put the keys in, or maybe it's you press your button, maybe it's you press in your clutch and you put it in gear. Like you think about there are habits there that you don't have to think about consciously the whole time. Or while you're driving, you're not consciously thinking the whole time, stay in the lines, don't go over the lines. Or at least I hope you're not. Please, God, if you are, then it might be time to stop driving. But we think about things if we don't have a habit. And that can make things feel hard, even if they aren't particularly difficult. It wasn't particularly hard to put the milk on the shelf instead of on the door. It seriously is no difference in effort, except that now I needed to use the brain power to do it in a new way. And sometimes doing things in a new way is tricky, and sometimes it's hard. But our dogs have habits too. Let me give you an example. Dogs that are in the habit of jumping up onto the tub by themselves. You go to pick them up and they're like, "Whoa, what are you doing? At home, they have me jump in the tub." Yeah, but their tub isn't this high. you like that's a dog that's startled, like, "Wait, no, no, I don't get help for this. I was doing it." No, you weren't. You were going to fall. So they have habits too, things that they aren't really thinking about. You throw a ball at my house and dogs are going to chase it. They don't think about that. That's a habit. But if you want to ask them to sit stay while you throw a ball, woo, that's a lot of thinking. Even though sit stay is okay to do, they understand that and they're really fluent in that. When you add throwing a ball, oh, that's hard because the habit of ball throwing is to charge after it and go catch it. So habits can be tricky, and it's important when we're learning a new skill to help ourselves get it right and set ourselves up to get it right, to be gentle with ourselves while we're learning something new. So when we talk about things like calm, comfortable, and cooperative, and helping dogs be in the correct mindset while we work on them, around them, over them, touch them with things and stuff and water and dryers, when we're working on that mood and that mindset, if we remind ourselves every step of the way, that's what's important. That's what's important right now. Why do we want him to be comfortable? Because that's part of being calm and cooperative, right? I don't want dogs to hate it. I want them to be comfortable with it. They may never truly enjoy every bit of grooming, and that's okay. I don't truly enjoy every bit of my dentist appointment or my doctor's appointment. But you know what? I trust them and I do fine there. So if we have this trust, this feeling of, listen, dude, I'm going to help you keep comfortable. That could be helping an elderly dog balance or hold themselves up or giving them a chance to lie down. Think about comfort as a number of different ways of helping an animal be comfortable. Some of our dogs are just not built well for some of the balancing things they need to do. So we just help them out, right? But that's comfortable. And cooperative is I need you to just let me do the things I need to do to you, on you, above you, below you, around you, right? It's not necessarily cooperative doesn't mean that they have to give us their paw. It doesn't mean that they have to do anything other than simply allowing us to do the things we need to do. And of course, calm is to be kind of present and in the moment and not jumping around and letting us move them around and not overly silly, not overly happy, and not scared. So, for many of us as groomers, it's really hard to break the habit of, and then I pick up this tool, and then I pick up this tool, and this part is next, and I have to get this mat out of your armpit. I have to get this mat out of your armpit. Just hold still while I get this mat out of your armpit. Why are you wiggling while I try to get this mat out of your armpit, right? We need to calm down and remember the mood. And if that means having it written down next to your equipment, calm, comfortable, and cooperative, some reminder of the 3 C's to help you stay on track, right? And to help you remember, oh, wait, this is kind of something different that I need to get in the habit of. And that it doesn't take more time, it's just a different use of time. And what I mean by that is that the dogs that are wiggling and are struggling with it or having a little bit of growling or a little bit of nervousness, or maybe it's a little over silly, they're already going to take you a little bit more time than the dog who's totally trained for it, right? Why not use that time differently in a way that builds for the future? Because if we take the time to help them be good, then we're not starting at the same point every time. We have improvements each and every time. So when you're thinking about this habit that we're trying to form, or perhaps you already have formed it, but why not just continue to form it? Good habits are good. Good habits are good, right? But to think about that habit helps you put it all on autopilot. So if we block and add something to the door of the fridge so that the milk just won't fit there again. Like that's how we change the environment to help us put it in the right spot. If we are at work and we're thinking, I'm not going to wrestle with this dog, I have an idea of why that's not helpful, and I want to try this other way of doing it, and this is how I'm going to do it. Set yourself up to get it right. If like my example of having scissors on the table, I work at people's homes. I have a little zone for putting my scissors. I always make sure I have a little spot, and that's where I'm going to set my scissors down. I don't leave scissors on my table to be kicked off or kicked into me, because that's happened. How did you stab yourself, Chrissy? Wow, good story. um, but when we talk about habits, habits are really hard to change if you aren't aware that you have it, and they can feel like everything is easier when you are still putting in a lot of effort. It just feels different because you're not thinking about it. So, as we build good habits and we help our dogs build good habits, we have to help ourselves by making the environment easier.
If you're enjoying my podcast, please remember to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes.
When we're creating a new behavior or working on some new behavior, we need to be able to track progress. Now, sometimes we just kind of assume, like, oh, that seemed better. But I want you to have something just a little bit more defined than that. First, we need to look at the exact behavior that we do want. So I'm going to come up with an example right now. Let's say it's trimming around the eyes. Maybe it's a very short nosed dog who's had some problems with skin irritation next to the eye. Maybe you're a little Shih Tzu or something. But I want you to think about this particular problem and how we can define what we want, which in this case would be being calm, comfortable, cooperative, and still for me. Still, not stiff, like loosey goosey still. Like, okay, I can be calm while we approach the face, while we touch the face, while we touch the face with something, while we touch the face with something that moves, while we touch the face with something that vibrates and moves and makes sound, right? That could be all of the steps, and to continue to help that dog be good. So, for instance, I often will start off with my finger, like, okay, here, right by your eye. and then make the motion I'll make with a comb, and then move the comb toward their eye, and then make the motion I'll move with the comb, and then maybe take the scissors next to the eye, and then make the motion I'd make with the scissors, and then actually trim some hair with the scissors. Like you think about there are lots of little steps. But sometimes as groomers, we get tunnel vision and we start thinking about if we were successful based on what hair was removed, right? That's not really a success for the dog. We have lots of other little successes. So when we're measuring success, we need to be thinking about, and we're tracking progress, we need to be thinking about the thing that we're working on and how many repetitions we did and if it was successful or not. So, one of the ways that I define this for my training customers when they're in their houses, a lot of people have found this visual to be really helpful, is imagine you have a vase, clear vase, and you're going to fill it with white marbles and black marbles. White marbles are times that it went right, black marbles are times that it didn't go right. That doesn't mean bad dog, it means incorrect, didn't go well, right? Following me so far? So we have white marbles, black marbles. What we want in that vase is each experience to have a white marble. Sometimes there's going to be a black marble. For many dogs, they have a whole bunch of black marbles in the bottom of that vase before they even come to us. And I'm thinking directly about like those dogs with the problems around their eyes, because what many owners are doing, and ask your owners, if you have a dog that's not great with their eyes, ask their owners how they're doing it. I find a lot of owners are holding their dog's mouth shut and pressing down on their nose, which is basically not giving them any way to breathe, while they press into that delicate skin and kind of crush stuff into it. So they're doing something that's kind of owie while they suffocate their dog. So they're kind of creating this feedback loop that is not happy, right? So sometimes these dogs are coming to us with a glass vase filled with black marbles, just all bad experiences. So for us to think about adding good experiences and tracking progress, I want you to think about, okay, so if I can walk over to that dog and reach and approach their head, right? I'm going to call that a white marble. All right, now this time I'm going to put my finger near your eye. That's another white marble. This time I'm going to put my finger near your eye and I'm going to smooth it a little bit and I'm going to touch that hair. Great, white marble. Dog still calm, comfortable, cooperative. Great. I'm going to call that a white marble, right? What if I put a comb near it? Oh, wiggled a little bit. Okay, we'll call that a black marble. Didn't go crazy, but still not what we want. We're going to call that a black marble, right? We get back with that comb, we comb a little bit. This time it's a white marble. Great. I want you to think about how many marbles we just assembled. Most of them are white. We're trying to build good habits and we're trying to build good experience. And the more white marbles we can get, the less black marbles are going to be showing up in that vase, right? By the end of the training, the top of that vase should be mostly white marbles. And if we had a puppy from the very beginning, we would hope that it would be just about all white marbles. Bad experiences are going to happen. Times that it didn't go right are going to happen. Times when things just fell apart. That's all going to happen at some point. I will give you a quick example. One of my dogs got stung by a bee, and trying to get that bee away from him, like get that bee stinger out of him, was a little bit like weird for him. He's like, "Whoa, God, no, there's something right there," It was a very unusual situation, and it's not like he would try to hurt me to get it out, but he was evasive. Like, no, you don't understand. There's something there. Yeah, I do understand. I'm trying to get the bee stinger out of your ear. Oh, okay. You know, even if we have them from the very, very beginning, even if they're great for us, there's always going to be some occasional black marble. But when we are trying to track progress and we start thinking, how did the dog respond to that? Then we can start thinking, you know what? I didn't get his face as perfect as I want, but that's not how I'm measuring my success. I gathered up a whole bunch of white marbles with this dog, right? I just put money in the savings account. And when you think about white marbles as savings, yeah, this dog is going to remember that that was a whole bunch of good experiences. We spent time building good experiences. We put a whole bunch of white marbles into that vase, and only a couple of black marbles, if any, happened. It'll happen. You'll push a little bit too far and just backtrack a little. and rebuild that trust again. But all of those white marble moments built trust. They help the dog be calm. They help put some savings away for the future, right? So when I'm in a customer's home for training, I often get them to compete for how many white marbles they can do. And I had one couple, they were very competitive. They were asking if they could have some gray marbles because it was sort of a success. I'm like, no gray marbles, cut it out, guys. But they were very competitive and they would actually track like, all right, we were on our walk and I got 6 white marbles and 1 black marble. And the husband's like, well, I was on a walk this morning and I got 8 white marbles. Now, when we talk about adding marbles, the other thing about that is that I want it to be kind of fun. I want you to think, how many white marble moments can I get? There's no limit. Go ahead and have fun with it. Build white marble moments. For those little dogs, again, with the example of like the hair right next to their eyes, it might be those white marble moments might just be reaching near their face. You might not be able to get a hand next to their eye first. I just use a hand as an example because I'll often try it. But it might be like just putting the comb there and just placing it there. Maybe even the comb handle, not the actual comb part, but the handle. And just placing it there and doing it over and over and over again and having the dog be comfortable with it before the bath, before you have to even try working on actually trimming around the eyes. Like think about how many eye touches or near eye touches you can get, how many white marbles you can collect and compete with each other. So if you have if you work with other people, like sometimes I really miss working with other people in a shop setting because it's kind of fun. But if you can compete with each other, oh heck yeah. Like, hey, I'm working on this. I spent 5 minutes and I just got a whole ton of white marbles. I haven't had anybody actually buy marbles, but you know what? If you want to, you go for it. But it's a way of tracking progress and remembering that all of those little pieces are important. All of those are important. I think it's really important to remember that all of those small steps build. All of those little tiny pieces are really important, and that our success is not just a perfect trim. Now, ultimately, with a dog who's had problems, getting that perfect trim is such a huge success, right? When you finally have this dog calm, comfortable, cooperative, and at that point where you can really just use your skills and make them look as great as possible. I mean, it sometimes just brings a tear to your eye that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe how much work we put into this. And you are a good dog and you're fine. And we just did your first big boy trim, right? But a lot of work goes into that, and we can't just focus on how well we got it or how long it took. So, by focusing on all of those little details, and I actually have my owners start calling it out: white marble, white marble, white marble. We point it out to each other. I get family doing it to each other. Like, hey, that was a white marble. Oh, it was 2 white marbles. Oh, it was 3, 4. Wow, you're really racking up the white marbles. Now, in a home setting where it's a training thing, it could be white marbles, could be every time you ask them to sit or every time you ask them to come to you and take hold of their collar to get them used to, and I take hold of you, right? It could be lots of different things in a home setting, but if you continually count successes, even if they're small, that can really help you because I think that it helps with our morale. It helps us to remember that, wait, no, even if this wasn't perfect today, even if his face doesn't look as beautiful as I want it to, you know what? I made progress. Look how many marbles worth of progress I made. Right? Because when we're tracking progress, we're spending more time thinking about the mood and how well the dog is doing, not how well the haircut is going. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys and you get a chance to give it a try. This week's action step is to start trying to track your marbles. Start trying to envision all of those little steps as it was successful or it wasn't successful. It worked right or it didn't work right. And if you start getting a bunch of black marbles in a row, that's when you need to reassess what you're trying. Maybe you went too far. Maybe you went too fast. Maybe you tried a tool that this dog wasn't ready for yet. And to backtrack back to white marbles. Little tiny successes. Everything in this world is made up of little tiny successes, little things, and building on those foundations. And so that's your weekly action step this week. Everybody have a great week and stay curious.
If you'd like to talk to me, you can find me through my grooming and training business, happycrittersdogtraining.com, my email, chrissy@happycritters.net, and through the Creating Great Grooming Dogs Facebook page. And we have these awesome devices in our pockets that allow us to do live video with each other. I can help you with the dog on your table. We can set up live lessons, and you may be surprised at how much we can get accomplished together via video. If you're ready to go beyond the podcast, and I hope you do, I've made it really easy for you. If you go to creatinggreatgroomingdogs.com and click on your next step, you'll see all of the options. There's the Scholar Lounge community, there's the Modern Grooming Professional Certification, there's Master Canine Stylist and Professional Canine Stylist Diploma testings, there's the Behavior Lab for coaching and private one-on-one sessions with me, and of course the Master Groomer Behavior Specialist program. So go to creatinggreatgroomingdogs.com and click on your next step.